so that I don't have to pull it down off of Twitch again later. So welcome everybody. If you are all here, I guess if I'm talking to you in the future because you got in late, welcome to software engineering. So this is CIS350. We're going to be covering everything related to software engineering this semester. Should be fun on the bun, I hope. I will try to keep an eye on the chat on the side of the screen as you all pop in. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them through the chat as we go. What we're going to be talking about today is basically an intro to the class, pretty lightweight. Talk about the syllabus, the material, just really get into things. It's probably going to take a couple days to get through all of the why software engineering is important type material. Man, so many follows. So cool. You should monetize this. That'd be fun. Unethical, but fun. All right, so my name's Professor Fredericks. Hello. This is my second semester here at Grand Valley, so I was teaching over at Oakland University before, and I came here to be closer to the lake, and it's quite nice here. Liking it so far, although teaching from home is kind of interesting. But, hey, pointer, come back. There we go. We're going to go over today. It's just the welcome. Welcome everybody to class. Hope we have a good time this semester. Talk about the syllabus and the expectations, and then we'll get into what software engineering is. Should be lots of fun, I hope. One thing that I want to kind of say before we get going is that if any of you are struggling, if any of you are having problems, if anything's going on where you're struggling to meet deadlines or assignments, or you're having project team issues, please let me know in advance. The sooner you let me know, the sooner we can work something out. And if I don't know until a deadline passes, it's really hard to fix things. If you talk to me earlier, I'm usually pretty approachable. I at least try to be. I'm available on Discord if you just want to message me privately or in a chat. Drop me an email, come to office hours, whatever it is, just get a hold of me if you need me. Students last semester that did not talk to me tended to not do as well because I didn't know that there were problems happening behind the scenes. I just saw like no submissions. So just keep that in mind. Please talk to me if you have to. Other thing, you probably saw the announcement already. So there's supposed to be office hours right after class. I have to cancel them for today because my hot water heater started leaking last night and I have to run out to Home Depot right after class. So that's going to be a fun day for me. So I just moved them till tomorrow at 11. And it's on Blackboard Collaborate. There's links sprinkled throughout Blackboard. When we get to that, I'll kind of show you where to find that. But yeah, everything's hopefully accessible and readily available for you. So class will be mostly on Twitch. Some days we'll do either Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate, depending on which service is working better at the time, mainly for like in-class labs or discussions or something like that. One of the next classes, probably Monday would be my guess, based on how slow I talk. We'll do like a Zoom lesson where I have you all introduce yourselves. We'll try to form project teams, fun things of that nature. But it's mostly going to be on Twitch. And if you have questions, just pop them into the chat. That's kind of why I mentioned getting an account on Twitch is probably going to be easiest. You just ask questions and I can see them right there. And it's worked out pretty well so far. So, hello, welcome to class. Should be a fun semester, I hope. Now is kind of what we're going to talk about what we actually are going to cover this semester, what we're not going to cover, and then I'm going to ask you what you want to cover. So if you have anything you want to have in the class, usually I'm open to trying to worm it in. So we will cover this semester. We will cover practical software engineering. Oops, went too far. And what that means is that software engineering, I will say this, it's probably one of the driest topics that are out there in computer science. It's also one of the most important ones, oddly enough. You don't want to hear that as students, but when you start making your way out into the working world, you're going to realize the software engineering aspect of things is almost as important, well, if not more important, than actually being able to program, because we're teaching you how to program safely and correctly. And that's what you're going to get here. The practical side means that you'll be applying this. So you're not just going to get theory in here. I'm going to give you a lot of things to do with this. So we'll be creating models, we'll be creating requirements, we'll be seeing how that's all tied to actual software. So you can get good hands-on experience with that. Then we're going to talk about the models and processes that are out there. Some of you may or may not have heard of the different software engineering processes and procedures. If you've had an internship already, there's a good chance you have. If you've never, had a programming job yet, good chance you haven't heard of them. It's fine both ways. But how do we develop software? How do we create good quality software? How do we make sure that it's doing exactly what we say it should? And how can you verify that? Because other people care about, does your software do what you're saying it's doing, right? So you have to actually show that it's working correctly. And last but not least, what every student hates to hear, forced teamwork. So unfortunately, excuse me, with software engineering, we are preparing you to work in teams. It is a team-based thing, software engineering. So we're going to have project teams this semester, not teams of one. It's not that far back that I was an undergraduate and I absolutely hated project teams because that means you have to deal with other people. That's usually a horrible concept, but software engineering kind of necessitates that, just as a forewarning. Another thing that I like to do is talk about what we are not going to cover just to set expectations early on. We are not going to be doing a lot of in-depth programming. I'm going to expect that you know how to do a basic level of programming. Now, you don't have to be an expert at programming. You should know how to, make simple programs, worst case. You will have a term project that you work on all semester. It doesn't have to be an earth-shattering, amazing, world-changing application. It can just be a normal, everyday application, but it's the software engineering processes behind the scenes that we care about. So as long as you know how to do some programming, I'm happy. With this one, I don't care what language you use. I will be showing examples in class mainly in Python and Java. I am the type of person who does not like Java. So I'm going to be showing more Python stuff, but I have Java in there just because I know all of you are learning Java in your other classes. So we have that here. Um, but again, I'm not expecting you to be experts at that. And that's about it for not covering. So we're going to be looking at the processes that help you write good code, basically. Hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it will hopefully become clear along the way. One of the hardest things to do as a programmer, let me pop this up right quickly. One of the hardest things to do really is to understand that your code is not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And even if you think it is perfect, there is probably still a bug with it. It's just hidden. And the whole process of software engineering is making sure that those bugs don't creep out at the worst possible times. One of the things we'll be talking about pretty soon are ethics and some of the horrible failures of software engineering that have happened in recent memory, which I think you get in, I think it's is it the 290 class? It's the professional development, whatever that one is. A little bit of slight overlap just to give you a forewarning there, but we're only going to spend a very brief amount of time on it since you have that class as well. But it's good to see what can go wrong because it's easy to get into programming, right? But it's hard to make software that is perfect and correct at all times. So with that, covering software engineering, basically the quality, the process of developing software. Is there anything that you all want to cover? And I realize by throwing this up here, I'm kind of putting you all on the spot with that. So if you don't know right off the bat, that's fine. It's a brand new topic for all of you, I'm going to assume. Otherwise you wouldn't be in here, right? But if there's anything you want to talk about throughout the semester, pop it into the chat, drop me an email if you think of it later, put it in our Discord channel for 350, whatever you would like to do. But again, we'll be covering some of the different processes, some of the modeling techniques. We'll talk about software testing. We'll talk about design patterns and kind of how all of those can really help you develop good software. The other thing to keep in mind too is that this is going to help you ease into the working world too, because this a good portion of the material in here you will be doing in real life. When will we be using Discord? So that's a good question. Um, what developing software working with a team looks like in industry? Will we be covering large scale development? Yes. Okay. So let me answer those in order, I suppose. So the Discord is there for you all to use as you want. Let me pop this over here. There we go. So I set this up for all my students, so just feel free to join, use it as an environment to chat. Basically, the links, if you don't know about them, the links are in the Blackboard. I think it's on the course information page and in that announcement where you have an invite link here. Just a place for students who have all been in my classes to hang out and chat. I also have 350 specific rooms, so I've got a general room here. When we do in-class discussions where I'm expecting you all to, it'd be like going into breakout rooms. I'm just going to say, go to a Discord room, talk about this problem, submit something through Blackboard. That's kind of what the base expectation there. But feel free to pop in there and chat if you want. Developing software and working with the team looks like in industry. So that's basically what we're going to be doing this semester. So once you form project teams, you'll be holding weekly meetings. You'll have to write up meeting minutes, what you did, what you plan to do, what problems you see, things of that nature. It's going to be a school-ish version of industry, basically. So it's not going to be perfectly industry where you're just left to the wolves kind of a thing. I'll support you along the way. Large scale development with multiple people. Yes. So the next question, yes, we'll be using GitHub this semester. Your project teams will be expected to work with Git and GitHub. You'll be checking in all of your artifacts, all your documents, meeting minutes into GitHub, and you're basically going to be working through that platform. I'll give you help along the way for how to get that up and running and how to manage it. Honestly, one of your first assignments is going to be going through some Git examples and getting up and running with that. Last question, groups assigned or will we choose groups? You will choose groups. So that's going to be probably day 3 would be my guess. We'll do a video session with everybody. You can introduce yourselves, what you're interested in. Hopefully people kind of self-organize into groups. If somebody misses class or if you can't find a group, then I can assign you to them basically. But if you know people already, or if everybody has a shared interest, that'll come out when we start doing the group formation. I'm hoping you self-organize basically. That's kind of my intention anyway. Let's see, class project. So let me talk about the project and then we'll go back, I suppose. So you will do a semester-long project. I did this last semester. I put way more focus on the project than I will this semester. So it's going to be scaled back slightly if you've talked to any of the other students. The goal is to have something portfolio worthy that you can demo to potential employers when you're done. I would like you to basically have a GitHub website that you can show off to help you get a job. That's kind of my end goal, is to get you all hired. But we're going to develop this thing like a real world project. You will kind of self-organize into roles, and I'm hoping that it will be more fluid. Like I don't want one person being the manager, one person being the documentation person. You're all going to do hopefully an equal amount of work, but you're going to create the artifacts. So you'll be doing requirements, we'll be writing test cases, we'll be writing documentation, and we'll be writing code. Some of the projects people did last semester were basically full-blown Unity video games. Team did a procedurally generated one in Godot, which is really interesting. I've had calendar applications. There is a web calendaring software application. Basically, the way it worked last semester was if you did not make a video game, you made something to replace Blackboard because everybody hates Blackboard. It's kind of how it ended up working out. But basically, if there is some kind of an application that you are interested in working on, my goal with class projects is kind of I'll give you examples of what to do, but if there's a project that you've always wanted to work on, but you've never had time, this is your time to do it. Plus, you have me breathing over your shoulder to get it done by the end of the semester. So there's motivation there too. When I was in college, I had a whole bunch of projects I always wanted to work on, but I never had time. Now this is that time to get it done. And if you have no idea what you want to do, that's fine as well, right? This is brand new for all of you. So think about it. You have a little bit of time for that. Um, and if you still have no idea by the time project teams come, then we can talk. So for the project, you're going to form teams and basically you're going to discuss what you're interested in. One of the first things that you have to do is to submit a proposal, meaning that give me an idea of what your team wants to work on. I'll tell you if it's way too much or if it's way too little, kind of what you can focus on. Then you'll set up a GitHub repo and a project website. So you'll be making github.io pages. If you've never done that before, it's super easy. And one of the really neat things about working with GitHub, should warn you, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock is my 1-year-old likes to scream, apparently. I don't know if you can hear that through my mic. But basically, you're going to have a publicly accessible website that anybody could see. And you could demonstrate to, again, potential employers. Then we'll have checkpoints in a delivery where basically you'll present it at the end. So typical project stuff, really. But it'll be a semester long with kind of checkpoints along the way. So things you are assumed to have. Again, I kind of talked about this already. Be able to program something. Again, I don't necessarily want you to do something massive for a project. I want you to focus on the engineering of that project. So it doesn't have to be super complicated, but it should be term project worthy. Again, we'll get to that if that sounds a little wishy-washy. I also expect you all to work on a team. This worked out pretty well last semester with a few exceptions. Be an adult is kind of the best thing I can say. If you are not contributing to the project, that will be absolutely apparent that you're not doing that. Team members will rate each other's effort throughout the semester so that I can know if people are attending meetings. If somebody's just not contributing and expecting the group to pick up the slack, don't do that. You will be punished for it. And when I say punished, your grade will be lowered basically for that. So just be mature, work with your team, talk to each other. If a problem happens, if somebody gets COVID, if there's an emergency, whatever the case is, just tell people, as long as you're comfortable with that, I suppose. But if people don't know what's going on, it's really hard to, help out there. So just talk is basically. And if you have any problems, again, please just talk to me, message me, email me. I've done Discord calls with students before who are struggling to just please let me know if there's anything going on. Don't be nervous. I'm approachable, even if I sound like a terrible, terrible old man at this point, I suppose. So, class. Now, this is going to be, 3 1-hour sessions, so 50-minute sections. Typically, it's going to be lecture. We'll do some discussion in Discord, basically. I have some Slido things where basically you kind of interact with the Google Slides and I can see your responses on the screen. Or we're going to do some lab work too, where if we do lab work, when we do lab work, it will be like a Zoom session where I can kind of go and help people out and show you what's going on. A little bit easier than in Twitch. Main goal of the course for me, though, is to get you all practical experience. Theory is one thing, actually doing it is another thing, and I tend to lean on the side that practical work is a lot more useful. You have to know the theory too, obviously, otherwise how do you apply it, but you're going to be getting a lot of hands-on work in here. So with that, I will say this, I've been using Twitch to teach for probably since winter 2019, once COVID started. It has worked out pretty well. If there are any problems that crop up this semester, I will let you know well in advance if something's changing. If class is going to be on Zoom today, all of a sudden you will get an announcement in your email. I'll message it in Discord. Basically, if anything happens, anything changes, you will all know well in advance, hopefully. So we talked about the project. We didn't do this slide. And let's get this off the screen. I want you to do something interesting to you. What I always found with projects was that if the professor told me what I had to do, I had zero interest in making it, and I would get it done. And it was easy because I could just check off boxes. Yes, I have made your web application. Yes, I made your mobile app. Whatever, it's done. I don't care. Um, but if there's something that I'm interested in working on and passionate about, I have a lot more fun with the project in that regard, and I will make an effort to actually make it look good. So with that, if you are somebody who likes video game design, try making a simple video game, right? Don't go off the rails and make an MMO clone of something that a team of 100 people would work on. Make something achievable. But, take the time and do it if you want. Do you want to learn how to make phone apps? Now's your semester to learn how to do that. If you want to make a Ruby application for the web, go for it. If you have no idea what you want to work on, we can talk about it. I can give you some examples of what other teams have done in the past, right? Students have made roguelike video games. They have made one team last semester that was familiar with Unity did a 3D horror game. There's a calculator app game where they did all the trigonometric functions and they, delivered an interesting product at the end. There's a team that did a Raspberry Pi Magic Mirror, so they actually had hardware. They developed basically it's like a see-through mirror type of thing with all of your weather and calendar stuff on it. That was their project. Another team did an Arduino-based project for disc golf, which was really cool too. Again, okay, focus on user experience or focus on the functionality. That's a good question because the focus is on getting to something called a minimum viable product. So it's basically I'm looking for a prototype. It does not have to be polished. It should be functional. So the user interface doesn't have to be perfect. The functionality doesn't have to be perfect. It should function though. All right, so if you tell me that you're going to make a game, let's say that you're going to do a Zelda clone, right, like a 2D Zelda. I'd expect to see a character moving around on a screen with some enemies and maybe you can fight them or something like that. I'm not really expecting you to deliver a fully polished experience, if that helps. Again, the focus is more on the engineering side. Like, let's say week 4, you have already done your proposal, you're making this 2D Zelda game. At this point, we're going to start talking about software requirements. So your deliverable is not going to be, hey, my prototype is doing this. It's going to be, here is a list of written out sentences of everything that this program will do by the time we are done. All right, so you will have a character that can move in the cardinal directions on the screen. The character is controlled by keyboard. We're going to be using a particular palette, color palette. So basically, we're thinking about how to design programs. The end result will be something functional, but not polished, I guess. Does that make sense? Hopefully makes sense. But if we're good on that, I'm gonna kind of, let's see, I'll keep talking about this stuff because this is important. So yeah, the focus is going to be on the software engineering process as we go. So what I care about mainly, again, functioning program, I'm going to assume you have. I care about the artifacts you deliver, and artifacts are going to be software models, software requirements, test cases, write-ups, that kind of thing. An artifact is something related to software. It also includes the code as well. But, I care about those kind of little checkpoints. You're going to be doing a presentation at the end, and since we have a midterm, I'll probably have you all do like a mini status update along the way, maybe a couple status updates where you just talk about where you're at. We'll give each other feedback, that kind of a thing. More details will come up as we go, right? The term project section in Blackboard is empty right now. All right, so rolling right along here. So the teams are going to be about 2 to 4 people. If you want one person, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, software engineering is a group thing. If you want more than 4 people, please let me know because otherwise it's going to get a little bit bulky, I think. Basically, what I'm looking for with how many people you have is the amount of effort that you deliver. So if you only have 2 people, I'm not expecting something massive. If you say we want a team of 6 people, I'll probably be expecting something a little bit more polished and larger in scope. So just kind of keep that in mind as you think about your teams. Online synchronous, we're all aware of that at this point. Talked about this already. I'll set up project rooms in the Discord channel for your teams. So you'll have a place to have your chats that I will also be able to see as well, but nobody else will. You'll have voice chat rooms. If you have other environments you want to chat in, that's fine as well. Maybe you're more of a WhatsApp or hey, let's go with an ICQ type of environment. Whatever your preference is, but I will give you, rooms in Discord. So it'll be like down here, here's all the project teams, place to chat and things like that. And don't be surprised if I pop in and say hi every now and again too. I'll also ask you for feedback on the class sporadically, maybe once or twice. I'll just say, hey, how's lecture going? Is the Twitch working out okay for all of you? Is there something that we could do a little bit differently to make things better? Is it working okay? Are we all happy? Basically, my goal is for you all to get what you need out of the class and kind of, move forward. If it's not working for you, please let me know, and I will do my best to address it effectively. So this is not the Professor Frederick's experience. This is the experience for all of you. So make sure that you get out of the class what you need. Tech stack. So I'm going to zip through this because you already know it. Synchronous online, meaning that we are going to meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 9:50. Office hours are online as well. Class website is Blackboard, which I should show really quickly here since we haven't seen it. Excuse me. All of the information's on the course information page. So here's the live stream. Here's a link to the Discord server. If you want to join in for office hours, and office hours means just come and, let me know if you have issues, talk about the class. Basically, I'm online for the full hour. Feel free to drop in and say hi if you would like. It's on Blackboard Collaborate. If this time does not work for you, drop me a message. Hey, can we meet at such and such a time on such and such a day? And I'll say, sure, probably. Let's do a one-on-one Discord call, Blackboard Collaborate call, whatever is going to work out for you. I'm usually pretty available, so just let me know and we'll work something out. So we have live stream, Discord, office hours. We'll have exams this semester. So we'll have a midterm and a final. They will be online. There's a page here that will become available once that happens. The way I run online exams is that you have 24 hours to take it. So basically on the day of the exam, I will open it up at midnight and it will close at midnight 24 hours later. So as long as you get it done within that time, I'm happy. All right, so I'm not going to give you a time limit. You could start it at 9 a.m. and finish it at 1 p.m. It's going to be the same for me. Just make sure you don't cheat. That's going to be my one takeaway there. And one other thing, actually, let me say 2 things really quickly. Sorry, I don't mean to spend so much time on the overhead, but being online, we should probably make sure we focus on that. Don't look at this yet. I'm not strictly sure that the 25th is the due date. On the class sessions page, I have all of these slides. So you see attached files. There's a PDF of the lecture slides. This is where I will be putting the lecture recordings. So this is going to go up on YouTube. After it publishes, I will put a link to the VOD, the video on demand, in here. Some people said they couldn't find it last semester. It will just be right here in the lecture slides. So the recording, that's where it's going to be. I want to make sure that you all are aware of that. Other thing, I had some comments from last semester that I was expecting you all to be able to program in particular languages or something like that, which seemed odd to me, but your project teams will pick your language that you use. So if you're not comfortable with that language, that was your team's decision. That wasn't something that I forced you to do. So just be aware that if you're joining a team that wants to do a Unity project, you're probably going to have to learn Unity. If you're doing something in Python this semester, you probably should know Python, but that is completely up to you. So just something to be aware of. I don't want this class to be, I've never touched Ruby before. Let's do all that this semester, right? Make sure you're comfortable with what you're doing. Will quizzes be weekly? We're not going to really have quizzes. So I will give you homework assignments, which usually I'll give you 1 to 2 weeks to complete. There will be in-class assignments from time to time, which are your participation grade. Usually I'll give you 24 hours to get those in, if somebody missed class or something like that. Usually it's a 1 or 2 question Blackboard assignment. Really, as long as you keep up with the assignments and the in-class stuff, you should be fine. All right, the syllabus. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that, but it's kind of important just so that you're all aware. This is on Blackboard too, by the way. But again, how to get a hold of me, where the stream is, when our exams are. So you have one March 3rd, one April 28th. Again, it will take place on Blackboard. Does homework involve programming? Some of them do. More so towards the end of the semester, though. Like we'll be doing some test case writing. So one of the things we'll be looking at, I want to say the last few weeks of the semester, maybe, or I'm trying to remember when I did it last semester. Basically, be writing like JUnit tests. So I'll give you some boilerplate code if there's a programming assignment. So if you're doing, let's make a JUnit test, which is let's write some unit tests for Java. I'll give you the boilerplate Java code that you're supposed to test, and then you just have to kind of extend it. Again, I don't think you're supposed to have too much programming background at this point. So if you're not comfortable programming, that's okay right now. Make sense? Okay, good. So here's the course objectives. So everything we're going to be talking about in class. Those of you that have heard of UML, be prepared to talk about UML. It's an interesting topic, at least. All right, so 163 is the prereq. I will be recording it and popping it up to YouTube. If there is anything student related on you or in the video, it's not going to be on YouTube. It'll be posted locally. That's kind of why I do it on Twitch, is that I can take advantage of the YouTube availability and encoding and all of that fun stuff. So a couple of things I want to talk about in the syllabus, really, and then we can move on. I'll let you read this on your own. Normally what I do on day one is I just hand you all the syllabus and you keep it in your backpacks and all that. But 2 things. So grading for the class, important to understand. The way that I'm running it this semester is that there is just a flat number of points. There will be extra credit available along the way. But you can take your score and divide it by 1,000, then you know what your grade is. Right? So there are 100 participation points available. Participation points are going to be in-class assignments. So you see these things pop up on Blackboard. There will be a note in the slide saying, hey, submit something for this. And then you'll get like 10 or 20 points. That's our in-class participation. If we were in a classroom, that would be, hey, write something down, hand it in when class is done. Same idea. Coursework will be homework assignments. Individual efforts are basically going to be the individual aspects of the group project. So it will be very clear what you have to do by yourself and what you have to do as a team. Don't neglect one or the other because it will impact your grade if you don't do something. But basically, just make sure you keep up on the homework, keep up on the assignments, and you should be fine, honestly. We also have a midterm and a final in there, and then that sums up to 1,000 points. So this is the first semester that I'm grading this way. Normally, I have this wacky, this is 30% of your grade, this is 20%. It's a major pain in the ass for everybody involved to calculate. Blackboard doesn't like it. I don't like it. Students didn't like it. So let's try something a little bit easier this semester. If you've had Professor Moore before, this is how he grades his classes. So I'm excited to give it a shot. But easy to figure out where you're standing in the class, honestly. One other thing with deadlines for assignments. If something comes up again, if you're struggling, let me know and usually we can figure something out. Right? I know everybody's getting overloaded and things are crazy. You've all heard all the adjectives for what a crazy year this has been. Just let me know and usually we can come to an agreement on something, okay? All right, last but not least, cooperation and cheating. Do not cheat, do not plagiarize. Is the lowest grade dropped? So no, nothing's dropped, nothing's weighted. Basically, every single point equates to the same in here. So let's say that, got it, yeah. This seemed like it'd be a lot easier, right? So if you skip a 50-point assignment, that's gonna be like 950 out of 1,000. Let me show you this. So let's say that I did not do one assignment. So 950 divided by 1,000. I could expect a 95%, plus or minus whatever extra credit I've done. Is coursework just homework? Yes. So you'll have homework assignments. That's your coursework. Sorry for the confusion there. Again, I give you a ton of time to do the homework assignments. Usually I'll give you like a week or 2 weeks, depending on how much effort there is. Honestly, if you actually sat down and read them, you could probably get them done in a half hour to an hour. I just give you a little bit more time based on, how much other stuff you have going on in your lives. And this isn't me, the professor, saying, I've done this a million times. Of course, you could get it done in an hour. Usually it's pretty straightforward if you just sit down and read it. So don't put it off till the last minute either. That's never a good thing for anybody, even though I'm sure that's what will end up happening. All right, last thing here, plagiarism. Um, there's going to be a lot of writing in the class. There's going to be a lot of reading. Everything's online, so the inclination is there, but don't just plagiarize other websites. Don't copy and paste things. Make sure that you distill it and you cite your source, that kind of a fun thing. If you are concerned about plagiarism or cheating, please let me know and I can kind of review what you did. Basically, don't copy and paste Wikipedia and expect me to be happy with it. Um, for the exams and assignments where I say this is individual, don't copy and paste each other's writing or its code or their code. Tends to be blatantly obvious to me that something's going on. So just don't do it. And everybody will be happy. And the only reason I'm stressing this is one semester I had half of one of my classes plagiarized each other on an exam, and it was a terrible time for everybody. Me as well as the students. It's not fun. But just don't do it. Tentative schedule there at the end. Tentative because I might talk long or I might talk quickly. Just be aware this is kind of where we're going. So intro, ethics, process models, get into UML, talk about design patterns later on. Should be fun on the bun. No textbook, so that's hopefully a good thing. Okay, lots talking. Anybody have any other questions so far? I've been seeing them come through the chat, so I'm glad to see you're all asking questions. Not all my classes have been. But if we are good, we will move on. So here is your first Slido. So this is one way that I can get your feedback right here on the slide. So basically you can take a picture of the QR code here, or go to slido.com and here's the link, or sorry, there's the ID for the thing here. Basically, I'm just kind of curious what programming languages you may or may not know. And I think I've got, yeah, more in here as well. Just make sure this is working, because sometimes it doesn't, but you should be able to just like take a picture of the QR code. Hey, look at that, it is working, cool. Yeah. So while you're, oh wow, I think that's the most response I've ever had for one of these. Good job, everybody. Um, If you want to do the world's coolest bash script, right? Let's say that you're in IT sysadmin in training. A powerful PowerShell or bash environment is a feasible term project. So again, the important thing is going to be the software engineering behind it. Programmers are very uncreative when it comes to naming. Yeah, I agree. Well, programmers by nature are not necessarily the most creative people, right? Other. Okay, so we've got a good range of people here. Nobody's a Lisp or Racket user. It's the bane of my existence. I can't do the functional programming languages. It makes my brain melt. Cool. So, as expected, a lot of Java. Python users too, so good, good, good. C and C++. I had one person last semester who wanted to do one of the trickier design patterns assignments in C, and it was kind of neat to see, using like function pointers and all kinds of crazy pointer math. But cool, good job. Those of you that picked other, is that you don't know any of these, or is there one in particular that you're thinking of? Alrighty, so we're now going to get in. Does anyone know PHP? I know PHP. PHP is fun. No, you don't need a Slido account. Sometimes I think the responding in the chat can be quicker for things like that. But yeah, the only account that you really need is the Twitch account and the Discord. And it's all free. Everything in here is free for you, so don't feel like you ever have to pay for anything. Alrighty, so let's see. Hey, we are getting more responses in too. All right, found it. Okay, yeah, it's just there on the side. So we're getting close to the end of class, so we're going to talk about what software engineering is, and then we'll probably end. At the start of next class, I will probably open up the first assignment. It's going to be an ethics reflection. So basically, I'm going to give you some articles to read, and I'll ask you for your input on that, and then we'll kind of talk about it in class. But the key for software engineering is why it is so important, honestly. Get my little dot off the screen. So what is it? I've been kind of building up to this. It is the study of the software process. All right, so it is the process of creating software. And if that sounds kind of like a recursive definition in a way, um, I'm going to be using the word process a lot this semester because it is basically software engineering. Everything will have a process that we follow. All right, it's a very iterative thing for us as software engineers. Um, and I will say this, I hope I said at the beginning, if not, you're getting it at the end. This is probably one of the most important classes you will take. All right, let me drop to that question. As of today, there is no assignment or required reading. As of Friday, there will be, but not today. You've got a couple of days to kind of ease your way into the semester. Feel free to read through the slides though. So the reason why I say this is an important class is that in all of your other classes, you are learning how to program, you're learning how to work together, you're learning everything, which is great, but you're not necessarily being taught how to control that software, for instance. So let's do an example here. Tesla, actually, there's a recent one, right? So Tesla's recalled pretty much every single one of their vehicles, I think, right? Their screens were defective. They hit the right cycle limit for their EEPROMs, so they have to replace all the screens, I believe, if you're a Tesla user. That's what I heard. If anybody's a Tesla owner here, feel free to correct me. But with software, it's very easy to get into programming, right? There's a million tutorials out on YouTube. There are so many blogs out there saying, hey, here's how you program, but they don't necessarily tell you how to program defensively, for one, so avoid future problems. And it doesn't necessarily help you through that whole process of, okay, let's actually figure out what we want to write. Let's write the software. Let's make sure we wrote it correctly. Those extra process steps are always kind of hidden, and that's why you're getting it here in software engineering. It's very, very easy for me to write a program. Let's say I write an Arduino program. I want to hook it up to my, let's say, hot water tank, since that's what's currently leaking on me, and I want it to control the temperature, right? Well, let's say that I screw up, and all of a sudden my boiler under the hot water tank is now just going to keep running and running and running. And now I've made a bomb in my basement. See if YouTube flags that one. But basically, you have to kind of think about what you're doing. It's not just writing code. So, what do we get out of this? We get an improved quality of software, meaning that our software will be better, and we can actually demonstrate that it's better. We can save cost. Cost can be time, can be money, it can be efforts, can be in damages. But basically, software engineering is going to take what you do, what you learn how to do in programming, understanding how to make something, and then putting a nice little shell of like quality around it so that you can actually be proud of what you did and demonstrate that it's working correctly. So it is very important. It is a super dry topic. And again, I've got no problem telling you that. When I was a student, I had zero desire to work in software engineering. I should mention I used to be a software project engineer, software project manager for a while. I hated working with the quality department because they would always tell me that I have to go back and fix things and do this and do this and do this. Like, why are you making me do this? And then I started studying software engineering as a PhD student, and I'm like, yeah, this is important and interesting, but it's going to take a while for you to come around to that. Okay, we will end with that for today. Anybody have any questions that I haven't covered? Did I maybe miss anything in chat or anything like that? Just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page here. If anybody's got anything, feel free to pop into chat. The one thing I will say, yeah, maybe I should walk that one back a little bit. The only reason I said that is the people who set out to learn a brand new language, they struggled getting up and running with that language. If you want to take this semester to, say, learn Python, that is great. Just make sure you scale back your project expectations. Right? So the whole point is that I'm not teaching you, say, Ruby, or I'm not teaching you Python. If that's something you want to learn, you are more than welcome to, right? Use the experience if that's something that you've always wanted to do. Just be aware that if that's what you want to do with your project, you're going to have a learning curve to get into it. Right? Like I had a lot of people last semester to try learning Godot for their term project. And I think with that one, there was maybe one or two people in the group who were Godot experts, and the rest of the group had no idea what it was. Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? So if you want to learn it, I'm not going to say no. It's great to learn a new language, and if you have a reason, go for it. Just manage your expectations for the project, that's all. Yeah. Like if you want to get up and running with like Godot or Unity or Unreal Engine or, any of those big frameworks out there, there is a learning curve to get into it. That's all. But hey, if you want to learn it, absolutely go for it. Just be aware. I had one group last semester that made a really neat RPG Maker game. So they did all of their programming. it's like the whatever the RPG Maker scripting language is. It's like a JavaScript variant, I think. That ended up being pretty cool. I will warn you all as well, I tend to have all my examples are video game related, so just be aware that I'll probably either talk about that or my time as a automotive software developer. Those are going to be your examples. Alrighty, I will, let's see. So we'll pick up on Friday with this, and then we'll start talking about why all of this is actually important. So I back up that statement that this is a super important class for you. But other than that, I will see you all Friday. Again, if you missed it at the beginning, my office hours for today, I moved till tomorrow because I have to go fix my hot water heater. And it's going to be a fun day for me doing that. Alrighty. Bye, everybody. See you Friday. You as well. Hey, thanks everybody for chatting early in class. It's really great to see people, talking in chat. So thank you all. It's been a good first class. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Should be an easy fix, I'm hoping. Just any home improvement task takes like forever. You too. Thanks, everybody.